Stop being so hard on me. Damn, dude. You yourself even know heartbreak hurts.
Heartbreak does hurt.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Heartbreak hurts.
Okay, so come on. Bear with me a little bit, bro.
How long ago did you break up?
About a month or two ago.
Why do you think she left you?
No, it was mutual.
Why do you think she left you?
I was emotional. I missed people. I missed them, and I knew they missed me. So I felt a strong sense of missing.
You cried?
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
I mean, that's crying. Did you shed tears in yourself?
I'm an emotional man. I think men are hyper emotional. We just have to control it. Well, emotions are feedback. The idea that men don't feel emotions is incorrect. We feel emotions. I would actually argue we feel emotions with certain emotions stronger than women. I would argue that we feel heartbreak stronger than women. I would argue we feel anger like a woman could never understand. I would argue we are extremely emotional. Rage, pure rage. Well, it's feedback. So when you get the feedback, it's all about how you internalize it and how you process it, right? It's having stoicism's not feeling emotions. It's feeling the emotion and going, okay, why is this happening? How much does this really matter? What's the most intelligent move on the chessboard?
When I was 20, me and my girlfriend broke up. I was with her for 4 years. I couldn't sleep. And this is before social media. You couldn't just chase it. Like, that was it. She's gone now. Like, she moved. I didn't know where she lived. That was it. And I couldn't sleep. Now, it wasn't like I was crying my eyes out, but I was just, where's my hoe at? I couldn't sleep.
Need something else to do.
So I thought, I'll hit the gym at 6 a.m., hit the gym at 3 p.m., hit the gym at 8 p.m. I had nothing else to do but fight. So I took all that trauma, all that heartbreak, and I molded it into becoming a world level combatant, right? So there's nothing, what did we talk earlier about how trauma can mold you, how trauma can be a fantastic thing? Heartbreak, depression, sadness. These are all fantastic motivators. I'm telling you why they're a fantastic motivator. You go to a guy who's heartbroken. He has all the motivation in the world to send 300 text messages. He has the motivation. He's putting it in the wrong place.
That's 300 cold emails you could be sending to someone in
That's a lot of money you could have made.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, some of the greatest accomplishments in my life have come after a heartbreak.
Life's grim. And if you want to be a superhero, you have to understand in every single superhero movie, he is losing for 80% of the movie. He's going to suffer for the majority of the movie before he wins at the end.
It was mutual. Listen, people outgrow each other, bro. People, sometimes in life, they don't work out, and that's just how life is, bro. You got to understand and respect that. You know what I mean?
That's what girls say when there's someone else. Oh, yeah, she left you to be by herself. She left you to sit at home alone and watch TV. Yeah, 100%. 100% that's why she left you, G. She left you because she just really wanted to sit at home by herself, not to run around with some other dude. You're totally right. She's a good person. She's different than all the rest. Completely agree. Sometimes chicks gotta go.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to go to save the king. And too many dudes, most of the time, men truly lose at life. It's because they've attached themselves to a queen and they won't let her up. They won't sacrifice her. No matter what. I promised I'm going to stick by you. Our marriage vows, no matter what. And they just stay on that sinking ship till she eventually leaves his ass. Maybe you should text her when you're lonely. Send her a text. She might text back this time. She's definitely not with some dude. You know all those other times she didn't reply? She was tired. She was asleep. Don't worry about it. This time she might text back. Miss you too. Wish we could have worked out. There's not some dude like me sitting next to her laughing at your messaging.
Some guys will get butthurt about that, and they'll sit there and they'll wallow in self-pity. I've always thought the correct application of that energy is, okay, prove that she made a shitty mistake. Go out and become a billionaire. Go out and become a kickboxer. Go out and become a porn. Go out and build 2 buildings, right? And then she's going to look around when she's 50 pounds heavier in a year's time. They're like, I left him.
Right? Because the king moves 1 square at a time. And the queen can just zip across the board. You see all these chicks on a boat. For the man to get on that boat, it's 1 square at a time, right? He has to get a good job. He has to get his taxes right. He has to find a way to leverage credit. He has to meet the guy who sells the boats. He has to go through all this shit stage by stage by stage to finally pull off being on that yacht and having that yacht at the age of 56. A chick, what does she need? Lip fillers? Boom. Zip. On. She gets straight on. That's the difference between the king and the queen. But although the king is slower than the queen, he's the most important piece, right? The king can't die. The queen can die.
The queen, sometimes you can be looking at a position and go, this is the only way out of this is to sacrifice. Sometimes you can do it. I'll tell you a very quick story. This is a story I've never told before. When I was, how old was I? 23? When I was 23, I was dating a ballerina. She was the prima ballerina of the Cambridge Ballet School in England. And I had no money. I was a fighter, but I was coming up. I didn't really have any money. And she lived far away, like an hour and a half away, but she used to come see me, and we were good for like a year and a half. I loved this girl. Yeah. And, she finished ballet school. She started dancing in clubs in London. She couldn't get any ballet work. Surprise, surprise. Who ballet work, right? So she ends up doing like dancing and, not stripping, but like dancing in the club, you know, So now she's around all the London money every day. She's out dancing all the time. She's up late every night. She doesn't want to drive an hour and a half to come see me. None of this shit. So we're kind of falling apart a little bit. And, she ended up talking to someone famous, David Hay. I don't know who he is. He's a boxer. So David Hay starts texting this forth to the, so anyway, when I finally saw her again, she was like, we had an argument. She's like, well, you know what? You think you're a fighter? This guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. I'm like, look, if you're going to go idiots, at least do it for money. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if you're going to go idiots, at least get paid because they don't give a about you. Like if you're going to play this game, at least do it for money.
Right.
So I had this argument with her back and forth, and I explained to her that these men are just going to use you. If you're going to do it, at least get paid. And when she left the house, Tristan said, why are you telling her to dudes? I'm like, no, I'm just understanding that in my chess position, I've lost this game.
Right.
The game is done now. Just sooner or later, she's out. All we do is argue. She's in the club every night. I'm just trying to say before she leaves, maybe I can get a little bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the queen sacrifice, right? Everything that's good that happens to me is all my fault. And everything bad that happens to me is all my fault. I take absolute responsibility. So chess teaches you that, right? And fighting's the same. People talk about lucky punch. If you're fighting a dude who trained to punch people in the face and then he punches you in the face, it wasn't a lucky punch. That's what he does, right? So there's no luck involved. All the glory's with you. And it's also a very cerebral sport. Fighting's not, I mean, you need to be a tough guy, but tough guys have short careers. Smart guys have long careers.
Life's going to hurt you, and how you use that pain is completely and utterly up to you. You can use that pain to galvanize yourself as a man and become a better man you've ever been. I'm not saying that I'm only successful because of some chick. I'm saying that every single time that I was heartbroken, I never wasted a second. I was never wallowing. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Especially as a young man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talked about this on the show. You're going to get your heart broken as a young man. I've had it happen to me.
Yep.
We've all had it happen to us. And it's not even about anger towards the girl. It's 7 years later, because as a man, you're going to get your value later.
Yes.
Right. So if you use that energy to put all that work in, these girls, they come back around, and I love to see them come back. Not because I'm in love again, just because it's like, you know, I told you so.
Yeah. No, I said this, like anybody who tries to get revenge on a woman,
way.
that's incel energy. That's a wrong way of looking at it. The only revenge you can get on a woman who breaks your heart is success. Success is the best revenge. Just level up slowly. And when she messages you, you got two choices. You can either say, sorry, baby, you're not my type anymore. Boom, you win.
Put a plan together for the heartbreak if it comes, and make sure that plan is constructive.
Yeah.
Everything we've been saying on this podcast is true. Trauma's going to come, pain's going to come, and you have to use it in a constructive way. I'm not telling you to tell him to avoid the pain. I'm saying that when it comes, make sure it's used in a constructive way. And still to this day, that's all I would ever do. If something bad happened to me and I got really upset, I would find the most constructive possible outlet. And that's a conscious decision. You have to have the emotional control to make a conscious decision in that direction.
I think a lot of men should just embrace it. Like it's a part of life, and it just makes you tougher.
It is.
Like it was one really hard breakup when I was 26, and I was pretty messed up for like a month or two, but I had so much pride that I knew the relationship had to come to an end. And as much as I didn't want to, I was like, it's done. Cause she told me she'd been speaking to another guy. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. That's
you could do, yeah.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. You can't ever be that little bitch who goes back after that.
So there was times, obviously, she was like my best friend, and I was thinking about her a lot, you know, because I was living alone. I didn't really have like many friends or anything at that point in time. So there were so many times I wanted to message her, or even just like, oh, let's just give it another shot. But I was like, nah, I refuse to do that because I'm too proud.
And that was the smart decision.
Yeah. And just overcoming that turned me into, I don't know, I'd say like a bit of a savage, really. Like I was just cold after that. Like I was ruthless. And then that gave me the sort of the freedom, the confidence to start traveling the world and meeting so many new people.
It's a shame it didn't work out. Yeah. Shame for you. That is pretty funny.
Every single one of them has messaged me.
I know. over at some point they all messaged you or you catch them watching.
And that one in particular, she did not stop messaging me because she knew.
Remember my quote, everyone who I've ever lost is worse off without me. Tristan Tate original quote. Remember that one? Because it's true. It's true. So yeah, fuck everyone I've ever lost. And I mean friends, I mean everybody. And it's very true.
And it's interesting as well. As you get older, you just get better. You just have more experience. You could even trust your gut instinct even more when it comes to women and so many life situations.
What do you define as a good woman? If you were to ask me, Tristan, how do you make a good coffee? I'd say 3 scoops black. But you might like cappuccinos. He might like pumpkin spice lattes or something gay. No offense, bro. No way. My point is, what exactly defines a good woman? What do you want from her? What do you want to do with her? You want a woman who's fun? You want a woman who you're going to start a family with? You want a woman who's not going to gold dig or hustle you? I don't know what you want. So I can only give my version of the answer.
What do you look for in a woman then? What is a good woman to you?
Well, for lots of years of my life, over the years of my life, the definition has certainly changed. When I was 23, a good woman was any woman who was 10 out of 10. Like,
regardless of personality,
personality, overlooked all of it. Didn't really care because at that point I was building my business. I was trying to kickbox. I wasn't interested in, having kids or a future or this kind of thing. But I think
it was more of a playboy.
Yeah, exactly. I was. And I've spent my whole life, I guess, meeting all sorts of various women. And that I think gives me the edge to be able to tell who's a good woman and who's not. But what I would say, the number one factor you want in a woman is honesty. Honesty in everybody is the most important thing that you can possibly look for. I'm going to give you an example. Okay. Let's say you meet 2 women. One of them has a body count of 9. Okay. She's 25. That's not super high, but it's not low either. Okay. I've got a body count of 9. I'm 25. And this woman approaches you and she talks to you, right? And you meet another girl and she tells you her body count is 8, but it's actually 4. You're better off with the woman who actually has the body count of 9. Because if the other woman will lie about that, what else is she lying about? And also, how do you know it's really 4? Once someone has displayed to you that they don't want to be honest, or that they're willing to package themselves as something that they're not in order to get in your good books, that is the ultimate red flag. Ultimate red flag above anything else.
Going after the fun.
Absolutely. They're not going after the cash. They're going after what the money provides.
Right.
So they're going after a guy who has the ability to take a time off work to go skiing. They're going after a guy who has the ability to fix their problems if they have a problem. They're going after a guy who has status or is high power or someone that makes them feel important standing next to. They don't actually care about what's in the bank or how much you spend. And you can look at guys who are unable to provide security, but they give a girl lots of fun, like the gardener who's banging the old rich wife. So I think women are just completely and utterly motivated by their emotions. And if you can spike an emotion in them one way or another, then you're going to be able to affect her in a positive way. I think I've said this time and time again, even if a woman hates you, you're in a better position than if she's apathetic towards you. Women are generally apathetic towards men. They ignore men. They don't answer their messages. They don't care about anything. If you can get any emotion out of a girl, even if it's hate, you're going to be all right. Like, I have plenty of girls I sleep with who I'm sure hate me. And if you can provoke an emotion in a female, no matter what it is, and I'm not saying it's easy to do, but if you can provoke an emotion, you're always going to be better than if she's bored or you provoke no emotion. That's when she's going to absolutely and utterly disappear. If you lose, no matter how well you played, if you lose, at some point you made a mistake. Even if it's the most minor mistake, you made a mistake. So you learn to understand that no matter what happens to you, if you lose a scenario, you made a mistake. Maybe it's a tiny one. Maybe it was 2 years ago, whatever, but you made a mistake and you learn absolute and utter accountability for yourself. And that mentality is extremely powerful to apply to all things in life. All of this is my fault, but the Bugatti on my drive is my fault and the yacht is my fault. The private jet's my fault. So it's all my fault. So I take the good with the bad. I take all responsibility for absolutely everything, including if a woman leaves me, if a woman stays, if I end up heartbroken, if I end up filled with rage, I take responsibility for that. If something happens to me that makes me enraged, I will take responsibility. Why has this happened to me? Why do I feel this way? How did I end up in this position? Is this healthy in this scenario? And sometimes it is. I've had scenarios in my life where I was prepared to die to protect somebody else and I was enraged and it was healthy. I've also had times where I'm in a room by myself enraged, sitting there going, this is no good for anybody. I need to just calm the down. So emotions are feedback, but stoicism is the ability to process them. And that's what you need to be learn as a man. You're never going to be able to turn them off. You're going to feel them. You have to learn how to process them and turn them into a positive. It's energy. It's unlimited energy. I say this all the time. I say that the biggest periods of transformation in my life is when everything was going wrong. But when I make my biggest progress, when I really change who I am and change the world, that's when when things go wrong or I'm feeling things I don't want to feel or bad things are happening, that's when I'm like, okay, I currently cannot sleep. I've completed the day's tasks. I've tried to go to bed. I can't sleep. More shit has to be done. That's when the amazing things happen in my life. When I was heartbroken, everyone's been heartbroken. I can't remember a specific example. I hit the gym hard, right? If something goes wrong with your payment processor, that's when you get inventive. That's business, right? That's when you get inventive. So all the bad things that happen to you as a man, if you're stoic, you get to take unlimited energy. Heartbreak is unlimited energy. So is depression. So is rage. So is sadness. All these negative emotions they tell you to collapse behind.
Impact. Let's think impact. If a person's watching this content, most of the people that are watching this, a portion is going to be those that are haters, that just want to find poke at the argument to find, see, I told you, fine. But a lot of people that are also watching this, they're probably wanting to make impact. They want their life to have meaning behind it. That's who's watching this show today, right? Okay. So I can't be a president, but I want to make impact. I being anybody that's watching this. Because Putin says 8 years, another guy comes, or the guy with the briefcase shows up. Okay, cool. Well, if you were in the States and you're saying president wouldn't be how to make an impact, but let's say there is a kid who's 20 years old, 18 years old, 25 years old, has so much drive, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Ambition at the highest level. Who do you think has the biggest influence to make positive change, like real change? Is it the person with the money? Is it the person with the biggest mic? Is it the person that goes into politics? What is the best way to have the biggest impact?
Yeah, so I think the world has always only ever been a battle for influence. Even if you look at the current battlefield, Ukraine is next door. It's 5 hours drive away. The battle in Ukraine is not just about tanks and trenches and grenades. It's a battle for influence. Who influences the people within this territory? Who is in charge of the thinking, the language, the mindset of people within this geographical area? Every single battle, every single pitched battle, every single argument, every single debate has always been a battle for influence. If you have influence, you're an extremely powerful person. All of us here are some of the most powerful people in the world. How many millions of people listen to us? We have massive influence. And I think you can have influence at the ground level. You don't have to be a famous podcaster or famously well-known to have influence. I would argue that those Romanian grandmas who gave me my food will remember me for the rest of their lives. I would like to believe I gave a positive influence and a positive impact on their lives for the rest of their life. I believe if you go through life and you're genuinely a good person, and you try your best to be good to people, and you're honest, and you shake hands, and you don't lie, and you're on time, and you work hard, and you're good to everyone who's good to you, I think you'll have a massive influence. And I also believe, I truly believe that God is extremely giving. There's this saying, goes around, comes around. Completely true. But I would say it comes from God. God is keeping an eye on you, and he's paying attention to you, and he knows the kind of person you are and the kind of things you do. And I don't believe if you're actually genuinely a good person all of the time, that you're not going to get some goodwill back to you. Look at my scenario. If I was being a piece of shit for years with all these chicks, I'd be in jail. I'd be in jail. I could have never seen this coming. But the fact that I was nice, paid their taxi home, bought them food, looked after them. Are you okay? I know we broke up. I'm sorry. I know it hurts. I just did it. I was nice about all of it. Here I am. I'm fine. So I could have never seen this Matrix attack coming. It's amazing how what goes around comes around. It's truly amazing. If you're good to people, if you're generous to people, if you're helpful to people, you'd be amazed how much influence you can build up. I say this to people all the time. I don't think if you're a hardworking person who is honest, who shakes hands, who tries to learn, who does what they're supposed to do, who has a good heart, that you're truly, really not going to be able to get what you want. I think the universe is absolutely and utterly giving. When I see somebody who says they want something and they don't have it, I don't even think they truly even want it. You can have anything you want in the world. When a guy goes, I want a six-pack, then why ain't you got one? If you wanted it, you'd have it. You'd like it. There's a bunch of things I'd like that I don't have. But I don't want them. Everything I've ever wanted, I've got. I've never wanted something and not had it. We all know what we're talking about here. There's things we'd like. I'd like to be able to figure skate. Not enough to go learn to figure skate.
It's a weird look if you figure, although that other guy dancing like the way you dance is doing a pretty good job.
Bottom G.
You've seen this guy?
He can figure skate.
That guy kills the dance moves.
Yeah, he's good. But
your doppelganger.
But if you truly want something, you're going to absolutely not have it. So when it comes down to influence, I think you start at the base level, at the grassroots level.
What if this guy's got, like, you know, for example, like, you know how when you were 20, were you this driven?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so when you're 20, who did you look at and say, I can do it as good as him, if not better?
My coach, because I wanted to fight, and he used to beat me badly. Everyone used to beat me up when I was young, and I wanted to be the best. So I used to go into the fight championship.
Okay, how about communication? Who'd you look at? Were you always a good communicator? I can see you being a great communicator since you were 14 years old. Am I pretty?
I was pretty good, yeah.
Okay, who did you look at and say, that guy's good, but I think I can, you know, do it better?
That's a good question. And I think that,
you know what I'm asking.
I know what you're asking. I don't know if there's one particular person I took nuances from, because when you're a great communicator, you know how to be serious, and you know how to make people sad and angry, and you also know how to make people laugh. There's different people who can do lots of different things.
So who was that? Was it somebody that was multifaceted like that?
I think it was a lot of different people. And I also think that...
Did you pull from comedy as well, or no?
Certainly did, but I was also extremely self-critical. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I'll watch this podcast back 15 times. I will notice every single time I made a mistake. Just then I said, I'll watch twice. That was a mistake. I will watch this back 15 times and I'll identify every single error. I have an email list and I sign up and I get words of the day. I get 5 or 6 new words a day, which I try my very best to memorize. It's harder than you think to memorize 5 words a day, but I always try to make sure I have the most interesting vernacular I can possibly have, a wide vocabulary, so I can be very specific with my points. The reason I actually did that, I keep talking about my dad, but I'm his son. I have the same name, Emory Andrew Tate III. He was Emory Andrew Tate II. My father was a linguist for the CIA. He spoke Russian and German and Spanish and English. And I think I've told this before. Back then, when they needed someone who spoke Russian, they would take a Native American and teach them Russian. Nowadays, we have a bunch of Russian-speaking allies. You can go to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They're all NATO and just get a Russian speaker. Back then, they taught my dad Russian, and he held the Air Force record for the fastest assimilation of a foreign language. When he died, a guy sent me a message saying, you don't know who I am, but I worked with your father in the Air Force, and he had the fastest assimilation. He learned Russian in 2 weeks. Crazy. And I remember saying to my dad, will you teach me Russian? He said, boy, you don't even know English. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you don't even know English. And once he sat me down with a dictionary, I was like, you're right. I don't even know English. That's why I've lived in Romania 7 years. People say, why don't you speak Romanian? Because I don't know English yet. I need to finish the first job before I learn the second. I don't know English. There's a bunch of words I don't know. I can't speak how he spoke. So I don't have time for a second language. Yeah. Also, another thing I found really interesting, Putin speaks English. Have you ever heard him speak English? No. Because if you want to speak to Putin, you speak to him in his language. You speak to me in Russian, and I reply to you in Russian, so I cannot be misunderstood or misconstrued. I don't make a fool of myself. You can't get me on some vernacular trick. I speak my language, and I also prefer that also. I speak English. That's what I speak. If you want to speak to me, you speak to me in my language, so I will win the debate always.
Who'd you look up to outside of your dad?
I look up to lots of people.
I'm talking specifically younger age, not today. I'm talking 16, 20, 25, that age. Not today.
It's a good question. Because I always believed in trying to take the best parts of individual people and then amalgamate them. And I know you want a name, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I would look at people who I didn't even respect, but they'd have one particular thing about them. I thought, that's good. It could be somebody I didn't even like, but he dressed well. I think you just have to be perspicacious and look at people, and there's something you can learn from absolutely everybody, and just try and adapt it all. I'm not saying everybody should be clones of me. For everyone's individual, right? But there might be some things about me they find inspiring that they may adapt and take on board, and then they'll find some things from other people. But learning to speak is something I understood from a very young age how important that would be. That's a superpower.
Okay, so let me go back to the question I was asking, where I'm trying to go with this. So I asked the question, I said, imagine the 20-year-old that's watching this, that's saying, no, Tate, don't give me the answer for anybody can create, contribute to society. I'm not that guy. Talk to me like I'm one in a million. Talk to me like I'm one in. So if I'm willing to give 20 years, 30 years of my life to one way to go up to make true positive impact in America, my country, in the world, what should, don't talk to me like everybody else. Hold the standards. What should I do? What angle should I do?
Okay, so first things first, you need to be worthy of respect. And you're going to be worthy of respect through having things which are difficult to acquire. So first things first, the basic things, you need to be very focused on trying to make money, because people listen to you when you have money. They just do. Secondly, you need to be in fantastic physical condition, because when you're in fantastic physical condition, it cannot be bought. It must be earned. And people know that. When you're in, I don't know about you. If someone walked in to sell me something and they were obese, I would not trust them the same as if they were in fantastic physical shape. Because I'd say, I don't think you have dedication and heart. I don't think there's something about you that I just wouldn't trust you the same. So fantastic physical condition and money is the first thing. The second thing, whatever your ideas are, you need to learn how to communicate them. Speaking is a superpower in and of itself. You need to become a fantastic communicator. You need to be comfortable in all realms of communication. You need to be persuasive. You need to be comfortable arguing. You need to be good at debating. There's a lot of people out there in the world who have ideas that they can't even project into somebody else's mind. How are you going to rule the world with that? How are you going to get your ideas out there and make an influence if you can't make other people understand exactly what you think? That's the first thing. Second thing, once they understand exactly what you think, you need to make them agree with what you think. These are two different skills. Must be practiced and must be learned. If you're 20 years old and you want to change the world, you need to be having endless debates. Endless. Without resorting to name calling, not on Twitter like a dummy, in person. And you need to come across in a way that people agree with you. We can go back quickly and talk about the red pill. The difference between me, when I talk to girls on these panel shows, and every other guy when they talk to girls on these panel shows is, when I'm done, all the girls want me. Watch them. Watch the shows. I say the same thing, and by the end, the chicks are in love with me, as opposed to saying the same thing and the chicks thinking I'm a dickhead. That's the difference. I project my ideas and I make them agree with my ideas to a point where they're like, texting me afterwards. I'm not saying anything different. It's how I'm communicating it. You can catch more flies with honey than hurting people sometimes. So you need to be good at everything. You need to have a Swiss Army knife of tools. I know when to be intimidating or aggressive. I know when to come across as obtuse. I know when to come across as exceptionally open-minded and easy to understand. I know when to come across as understanding. I know all these things. This all has to be practiced. And a lot of it is, communication. I would say, if you're going to say to a 20-year-old who's truly exceptional and driven, I'd say you need to become a master communicator. Because once you can do that, you can do anything. And that fixes all the other problems, right? We talk about making money. If you're a master communicator, you do fantastic in sales. You'll kill sales. You'll absolutely destroy sales if you're a master communicator. Not many people know this, but I used to sell windows. You know the old school knock on the door? Window sales. I did window sales for 2 or 3 years, and I'd say this is one of the hardest jobs you could possibly do. And I would always recommend a young man, if he has some time to waste, to go sell windows. And the reason, it's fantastic, because I'll tell you why. It's the hardest one to sell because, 1, nobody wants them. 2, they don't know who you are. And 3, even if you convince them that they need windows, after them not knowing who you are, then they go to all your competitors and then it becomes a price war. It's a nightmare. It's the hardest sales job. If you're selling a Lambo, at least they want the Lambo, right? Nobody wants glass and plastic. They already have windows. So you got to find a way to sell them these windows. How do you do that? And that's where all this master communication comes in. And it's so many subtle little things. Being a good salesman is not necessarily being a liar. It's not being a trickster. It's just understanding what's going to make the person believe and understand what you say. If I walked in and said, would you like new windows? And they essentially said, no, we don't need new windows. Our windows look fine. I would say, but what about the security aspect? While looking at their 3-year-old child. And they'd sit there and go, what do you mean security aspect? And then I talk about how we had the lock 5000 and their locks are easy to break, as if glass isn't glass. It's all the same anyway. And you'd end up selling the windows. You have to find the triggers in people. There's another thing people don't understand about me and my message. Sometimes I sit here and I say things that piss people off because that's how you trigger people to make action. I have often written emails or done videos to, especially to men when I want to help men, to piss them off. You're a loser. You're a dumbass. Andrew, why you mean? Because you're not going to go to the gym unless I tell you you're a fucking loser. And you are a loser, and I'm not lying to you. You are a loser. The emotional trigger you need to get up off that chair is the fact that you're not important, nobody cares who you are, any girl you're ever in love with I could take, and you're insignificant. And when you die, nobody's interested. That's your fault. You could have been something else. You did that. You failed. That has to be done. You have to be a master communicator. And sometimes that involves also insulting people. It's all a massive tapestry. But to answer your question, for the 20-year-old, he needs to become a master at communicating. But also to be a master at communicating, you also need experiences worth talking about. You have to live a life. You need a degree of wisdom. And wisdom doesn't always come with age. It comes with life lived. I had a guy message me. This is a long time ago when I used to reply to my own emails. Too big now. But he said, I don't have any stories. My life's boring. I said, bro, where do you live? He said, Madrid. I said, bro, ride the train from Madrid to St. Petersburg. Ride the train from Madrid to Vladivostok. Do the Trans-Siberian Railway. Cost you like $300. Goes, oh, but what if I get robbed? Exactly! That's exactly the point! What if you get robbed? Now you have a story. Maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. But you have a story. Don't bring your watch. Have you got a Rolex? No. No one wants to rob you anyway. Don't worry about it. You're brokey. Get on the train. There has to be that degree of risk to even have a story, because when you have a story, then you can communicate the story. You can't be an empty vessel either. So when you say you're telling me how I build this 20-year-old into a super soldier. Yeah, he has to be a master communicator, but he also has to do things which are risky. Risk has value intrinsically linked to it, intrinsically. This is why people, when you do risky things, people want to hear the story. Your coolest stories involve risk. Something went wrong. This could have happened. I almost this. I made it out. Without these risks, you haven't got it. So I would say to the 20-year-old, do what I did. Get in the cage. Get in the ring. Knock someone out. Get knocked out. Train hard. Fighting will teach you everything you need to know about life. You'll learn everything about who you truly are. You'll learn if you're a coward or not. You'll learn everything about perseverance and hard work and dedication. Everything about being underappreciated. You learn everything about fear. You learn all of it. You learn everything about people. You win a fight, check your phone. Lose a fight, check your phone. You learn all about people. You learn all about them. You learn all about women. I learned so much about women through fighting. When I had a fight coming up and I was weight drained and I had barely eaten in weeks and I'd lost all this weight and I had a world title fight and I'm fighting a guy who might kill me and she's complaining about the toilet seat. I learned all about women. You learn a lot about life through these difficult processes and paths. And there used to be for men like a rite of passage. In most societies, you had to go through something to become a man, from a boy to a man. But that thing was always difficult. It's always been difficult. Now you have to self-induce it, self-inflict it. But if you're going to be a boy and never bring on that self-inflicted rite of passage, how are you going to ever become a man?
It's great feedback.
When I tell people that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, everyone agrees. They go, yeah, that's probably true. The 5 people you spend the most time with, that's what you're going to end up like. They say, yeah, that's true. And then they continue to hang around with people who they don't want to be. Why? There has to be a point. There has to be a point where you sit and go, okay, you're my friends, et cetera, I love you guys. Yeah, we can talk, whatever. But I'm on a different life path. You have to leave some people behind. You wouldn't want to be, if you were to come hang out with me and you were in a room with me and my 5 friends, you'd feel self-conscious.
You're right.
You don't feel with your friends.
Because you only surround yourself around people that are on like your level of like.
I'm with killers. I'm with killers. We're fucking monsters. If you were to come hang around with me and my crew, you would be self-conscious. And that self-consciousness would motivate you, or they would certainly instill the discipline required for you to change. You don't feel self-conscious amongst your peers. That's why you don't change. If you were to get in a room and you're the only person who ain't a fucking monster, you'd want to become a monster. That's life. That's humanity. So I say this to people all the time. If you know you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with, why you hang around with people you don't want to be? Brother does 500 push-ups. I ain't going to be the bitch in the house. I ain't going to not do them. So that's another reason the war room exists. My organization, the reason it's so competitive, is the reason we kick people out. You have to fight.
Even if they pay, you're like, I don't give a fuck. Get out. Like,
I don't give a fuck. Get out. It doesn't matter. Everyone pays to join. You get kicked out anyway. You have to fight to keep your place. That's the whole.
Damn.
That's because that's how life was. If we were still in the animal kingdom, the lions that you see on TV, they weren't just born big lions. They had to fight other lions. They had to fight to get that antelope. They had to fight other animals, hyenas, jackals. They had to fight to be the boss. We're living in a comfortable world now where people think, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you know what? To some degree, it does matter. It does matter. And I'll tell you who it matters to. It matters to your soul and it matters to God. I stand in the mirror with a pure heart. I know I am the best version of me that could possibly ever exist. I know that God is proud of me. There's nothing that God hates more than sloth and laziness. If God were to create a man and that man were to sit around and do fuck all, God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're fucking lazy. Start to work. Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become. God is unhappy with these people. And inside their hearts, they're unhappy. We talk about depression, anxiety, all those things you mentioned really earlier on this podcast. That comes from self-loathing. You loathe your own weakness. You loathe your own laziness. This is what all of these things are. I don't feel depression. How can I feel depression when I'm the most powerful version of me that I could ever fucking be? How can I feel depression when I can squeeze my own hand hard enough to break my own bones? How can I feel depression when I've smashed and destroyed 68 people's faces in front of me, men who thought they could test me in fair combat? How can I feel depressed? It's impossible. Watch your friends when they're on TikTok. How long can they even focus on a video before they have to change? Half a second, a second. All of your minds are broken. You can't even focus on anything anymore.
You're right.
You are constantly distracted to the point where you can't even appreciate the good things in your life. You're distracted. Your minds are broken. You need to rewire your mind and resist the slave programming.
How?
They have I'll tell you how. First thing you have to do is identify it. You have to identify what is happening to you. I use my mind to break the trap. What I do is I allow my enemy to manipulate me on purpose. And then I use my mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrators. I will sit on TikTok for a day and I'll just enjoy TikTok. And by the end of the day, I'll watch myself. How quickly I'm looking to be entertained, how little time I give a video, how fucked up I am. And then I'll blink and I'll cure my fucking brain. You must allow yourself to be manipulated and you must fix it. All of it. You just talked about not appreciating the things you have. Then blink and cure your brain. It's not difficult. There's just no competition because everybody's fucking distracted. They're getting distracted by this, distracted by that, watching fucking Netflix, jerking off to Pornhub like fucking jackasses. It's so easy to win if you can control your own mind. But it seems that nobody fucking can. And that's how the people who run the world keep the world running, because they have all the slaves exactly where they need them to be, permanently distracted and semi-depressed, working their asses off in jobs which will never satisfy them and never pay enough money. That's the matrix. Do what I'm supposed to do. It's not a matter of how I feel or how I'm motivated. If I was depressed, it's impossible, but if I was depressed, my life would be, and the day-to-day activities would be exactly the same as if I was ecstatically happy. You wouldn't be able to see a difference. I'd be up at the same time. I'd be in the gym the same. I'd be doing the same shit. Those are my duties my duties to God. How I feel has nothing to do with it. Completely unrelated. How I feel is unrelated to my duties to God. They don't change based on how I feel. They're the same. And they will be completed because I refuse to fail God or my bloodline. You could take 150,000 of these people and travel back in time and stand them in front of their ancestors. And their ancestors who fought fucking saber-toothed tigers or escaped the Mongol hordes or managed to dodge bombs in the Second World War. All the shit they went through just for this fucking cretin to be born. And to look at him, who he is, listen to his life story, listen to what he does on a day-to-day basis, and they would feel nothing but fucking shame. Your ancestors did all that shit, all that struggling to survive, hunting and gathering, fucking avoiding enemies, anything it took, dying at age 30 from a tooth infection, all the crap they went through just for you to be born so you could smoke weed and jack off. That's what your ancestors died for. That's what they worked so hard for. If you were born 100 years ago and it was the 1920s, you'd be in some ditch in northern France, living in the fucking mud, hoping not to get killed by a random sniper in some bullshit war you barely understand for 4 years. Then you'd come home and hope your wife hasn't been bombed.
Yo!
You understand?
But
that's the world. That's the world. The world has become exceptionally easy for a lot of men. It used to be a different place. Most men were cannon fodder. Most of us would have ended up in wars dying for fucking no reason.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to do that. So because we don't have to do that, men think it's okay to just become comfortable now. You're not supposed to be comfortable. You were never evolved to be comfortable. You're supposed to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And if you make yourself uncomfortable constructively, it's very easy to be anything you want. I find it amazing that people will sit there and spend all their time upgrading that character, making as much money as they can, getting the best guns, getting strong, getting some hoes, meeting important people, getting the best car. They'll do all that in a game, but they won't do it in real life. I find that incredible. My life is GTA. I don't need to play a game for GTA. If I want a gun, I'll fucking buy it. If I want a car, I'll fucking buy it. I want a bitch, I'll get her. It's me. I am GTA. I don't see why people play the games. They play the games because they're scared of loss. Because if you die in the game, you get another chance. If you lose in the game, you get another chance. In life, you get one shot.
Damn,
But if you get some balls, that's what life is as a game. That's what life is as a man. This is one big video game. You get to upgrade your character. You're not born with any value. All these women that you just put me on with are born with value. They're pretty already. They're gorgeous already. They're good looking enough. Even if they're a 5, someone's going to give a shit they exist because someone wants to fuck them. As a man, if you don't make yourself valuable, you have no value. You have to get up and do it. Just like a video game, you start with fucking 0. You have to decide if you want to complete it. You have to upgrade your character. So I find it amazing that men are going to play video games and fuck about and waste their time instead of upgrading their character. Everyone knows what to do. You know what you have to do.
You're right.
If you had to become the most dangerous, intelligent, respectable man on the planet, you know you're supposed to go to the gym. You know you're supposed to train, learn how to fight. You know all these things. You don't do them. That's your decision. It's your prerogative. I didn't make that choice. I made the choice to do it all. I decided all. And every single man watching this can do the exact same thing, which is why I have very little pity. I'd never make fun of someone who hasn't got a choice. I wouldn't make fun of someone born with one.
I have a choice though.
But if you've
right.
made a fucking decision to be less than you should be, then I believe you should be mocked for that decision.
I agree. I feel like, yeah, because like you're not living up to your full potential. Like it's your choice to basically not live up to your full potential.
Completely. And me as a man, when I put myself through hell, when I have had such exacting, such stringent standards for myself, why would I then have less exacting, stringent standards on the people I meet? Why would I put myself through hell to be me and then meet someone who didn't put themselves through hell and then treat them like my equal? No, fuck you. I suffered when you didn't. So you're not my equal because you decided not to suffer. You have enjoyed comfort when I haven't, and that's fine. But don't expect me to look at you as my equal because you're not. I'll snap your fucking neck. I can't imagine a mind frame or a mindset where I want to do something and can't do it.
Right.
So it's almost difficult for me to answer that question because if you have that kind of mind, if your mind is so fundamentally broken that you cannot do with your own mind what you want to do,
right?
You know, like that, then you're just fucked, right? Life is hierarchical. There's always going to be kings and there's always going to be peasants. If you have a mind that you can't control, then you're never going to be a king. You're going to be a peasant. That's your life. You have a peasant's life ahead of you, and that's your destiny. Enjoy, right? There's always been peasants. That's life. But I believe that. I mean, the most important thing you can do as a man is to gain control of your mind. Once you have control of your mind, life is so ridiculously easy. It's so ridiculously easy. It's so easy to be in. People say to me, Tate, you're in good shape, but all you do is drink vodka and travel the world. You're never even home. You never even have a gym. How do you do it? It's ridiculously easy if you control your mind. If I decide to do 1,000 push-ups, I'll do them. Maybe I have to do them one at a time. Maybe I'll get tired. Maybe I need a break. I'm going to do 1,000 because I said I'm going to do 1,000. It's not fucking hard. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Once you control your mind, it's easy, right? Getting over a breakup with that bitch. You miss that girl, you're upset, you miss her with all your heart, da-da-da. But once you realize she's gone, if you control your mind, she's gone now. She's gone now, gonna miss her. That's a shame. Off to the gym. But like, you either control your mind or you don't. And all of these things stem from the same problem. It's something you can do. It's something that is learned. It's something that is taught. But it's something that I needed to survive. So for me, it's easy, right? It's all I've ever known.
Right.
But people have they don't need it to survive, so they never develop the skill. That's just how it works. At the end of World War II, when men went to Europe and saw unspeakable horrors at the end of World War II, did they all come home and need therapy, or did they all come home and get back to life?
Back to life.
Because everyone was taught to have a mind that they control because they needed it to survive. There's no one else. That's how life worked back then.
You have to be good enough on your worst day to beat your opponent on his best day. On the day he feels motivated and gets out of bed and wants to fight and he's raring to go and he's on the top of his game, and you feel the absolute opposite. You want to lay in bed. You don't want to move. You don't want to go anywhere, but you have to get up and have to fight this man. You have to be good enough to beat him anyway. You have to be that good.
Don't hold on. It's the red down. I know that so I don't tell you what the is line. I got my they don't understand the shades, and that's the same. It's something in the head. I got a bullet with your eyes, so close your eyes as I say this try out to your kiss and in your mouth, so get ready for the blood. This is one, two, kill.
Sorry, that's just the sound of me being monumentally rich. Despite the fact they're trying to stop me from being monumentally rich. They're trying so hard to stop me being rich. Wait, what's that I can hear? Is that a DBS 770 that my brother's driving? Yeah, it must be.
Oh, hello, Tristan. Jail, please.
Who has? Just us two. Oh, your fault.
Nathan and Andrew have been looking for a cheap hotel for well over an hour, but haven't been able to find anywhere within their budget.
My unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm.
Hello.
Hi.
You look really nice.
Thank you. Let's do two kisses. 1, 2.
Ah, very nice to meet you. What's
Very
your
nice
name?
to meet you. Andrew Tate. What's your name?
Andrew. Nice to meet you. Triangles. How did you get here today?
I flew in.
Flew in. Different? Something different?
Yeah. Up in the jet.
You're in on a jet. Who is this guy?
I know what things in my mind would all be if it do get out there, one behind us against for the British, this one, all the rest my field of like it is. I feel as every this is very upside stage. I know that
Anyone who knows me will tell you, if I'm awake, I'm working. The second I wake up, I'm on my laptop till the second I go to sleep. First thing I do when I wake up is check my phone. I only enjoy work. I like to work. I like to feel proud of myself. I don't want to be happy. I want to feel proud of myself. Tristan, back me up. Have I ever said I need a day where I just need a day off? Have you ever heard me say I need a day off?
No.
Ever.
Hydra, it's a nice room. No, my hotel room was broken into. I'm in Village, my hotel room was broken into. And I know who broke into it. You know who broke into my hotel room? No. It's Andrew. I gave Andrew the key, and he broke the door.
I'm only passionate about things that massively improve my life if I win my current battle against the Matrix. Once I crack the Matrix story, I will become the powerful man. Relevance to achieve interviews and get views they would never normally get to spread hateful propaganda. If you can't afford me, you're going to have to go back to just lying about me without speaking. Because God knows the truth. I know the truth. Most of the world knows the truth. And I genuinely believe that Allah is the best of planners. And whatever happens to me, regardless of whether I am martyred, regardless of whether they put a bullet in my brain, I know what I have done is good for the world. And the things I will do will continue to be good for the world. I have absolutely everything I could ever possibly desire. And if I wanted something that I couldn't have, I guarantee you can speak again in a few months and Legends have always been forged in fire. You little dorks at home don't understand that every single man you can name from history was born from pain, born from fire, born from doing the things other men can't do. Respect is on the other side of fear. You're afraid. I'm not. That's why I'm different. I am built fucking different.
You know why God made your girl leave you? Because he wanted to show you that you ain't shit.
Women aren't going to respect men who don't respect themselves. You're not going to sit there without working hard and say, well, I'm a man, so you have to listen. That's fantasy tradcon bullshit. That's not real. You have to be about it, right? You need a purpose. People need to need you alive. If you're the kind of man who everyone's life can function perfectly fine if you get struck by lightning, then you're not going to feel happy. You're going to feel happy when you realize that people need you. And for them to need you, you have to be useful and you have to be competent. And whether that's children or your girlfriend or your parents or anyone else who cares about you, I think living for other people is one of the most beautiful things a man can do because it gives you a purpose, a higher purpose. And most of the men out there who live normal lives do exactly that. Why do they work jobs? They work jobs for other people. They don't do it for themselves. Yeah. They don't even keep most of the money. It goes on the kid, the wife, the house, and they're taking care of others. And that's a masculine imperative God has instilled in us. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think if you're going to do that, you may as well do it for your own offspring. Who else are you doing it for?
I agree.
There's no light without dark. You have to decide what you want to do. And the only way to avoid these things is to stay an insignificant nobody. And I think that's the worst possible life a man can live, is invisible. And most men are invisible. Most men are. I say this all the time. Every single time I go on a date with a girl and we're sitting in a restaurant, when we leave, I say, how many men do you think was in that restaurant? And she goes, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4. 3 or 4. There was 10 waiters who you didn't even see. They're invisible to you. Yep. They don't even exist. He brought you a drink. He spoke to you. He asked you what you wanted to eat. I had to tell you to say please and thank you to his ass because you're f***ing rude. You're 19. You ain't even working. This dude's working 12-hour shifts. You're like, oh, water. I'm like, water, please. Get some manners. What's wrong with you? These girls, so if you're a man and your act ain't together, you're invisible anyway. So you're either going to be an invisible nobody or you're going to be a warlord, and you have to be ready for that war. I am ready to win this war and continue with my conquest of Earth and continue to try and inspire people to be the best version of themselves. And I am also very ready to go to jail forever. I'm ready because it's not up to me. It's up to God. And if God decides I need to go to jail, then so be it. If I catch a 10-year stretch, it's going to derail my life for sure. But when I'm 65... or 70, and I talk about the time I caught a 10-year stretch in Romania on some bullshit and lived amongst the cockroaches and the killers in the mental asylum. At least I'm going to have a story from it. At least I'm going to be a better version of myself. I'm not afraid of these people. I refuse to live in fear because this is a choice I made. I made this decision to be this man, and I understood exactly what it comes with. And a lot of people at the bottom see all of the benefits. They see our cars, see the private jets, they see the girls, they see the status, and they want all of that, but they don't want the negatives. And that's why they're never going to get it. Yep. Because on your way up, you're going to start getting hit with the negatives. You're going to be derailed. There's no way to get to the top without dealing with monumental levels of stress. I often say the reason a lot of people don't have the things they want is they couldn't handle the things they want. They couldn't handle the life that is required to get the things they want. They simply would get anywhere near it and start to panic and out and just go on holiday and hide on a beach and delete their social media.
Even comments.
Bro, mean comments. Bro. I've got street problems. You think I give a about mean comments from some anon? It's difficult for me to put into words how much I don't care. But there's people out there that do care.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, I want to be like Top G, but you can't handle a comment on the internet. Bruv, these people are born to lose. So you have to decide, and you need to look in the mirror and really make a decision, because I think perhaps if you want to build a life, choosing your life path and knowing which life path you want to go down is going to allow you to be the most effective in the construction of that life. If you say, I can't handle that stress, I want to be somewhere in the middle, then accept it, accept the good and bad that comes with that, accept the kind of life you want to build and go do it. But don't sit there and say, I want to be Top G, I want to live this great life, and you're not prepared for war, because it's coming.
You make women respect you by being a person who's worthy of respect, the same way you make a man respect you. I mean, I really think that if society respects you, females will respect you by an extension. And there's lots of ways you can do that. Obviously, having money helps with that. Having a good job helps with that. Having a nice apartment, nice car obviously helps with that. Being in good shape helps with that. Being smart, being witty, all these things help. But this is the reality of life as a man, is that you have to build your value. People say to me all the time, oh yeah, Tate, you get girls. I said, I got girls because I became a kickboxing world champion. That's thousands of hours in the gym. I wasn't born with some magic. I'm not Ron Jeremy. I wasn't born with some tool. It's like, I had to do it myself. So you have to build it as a man. This is just the unfortunate reality. If you're not prepared to do any work at all, you're going to suffer. And this is the reality of life as a man. You have to build it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of guys kind of go on YouTube. They'll go on blogs, internet, wherever, to kind of figure out like what's the thing to say, how do you get a girl, when really it's asking kind of the questions that give you more superficial information that's not going to really do much. And you're talking about, well, become a valuable man. So now that's about building more of a foundation of being an actual attractive person instead of trying to copy and paste things.
You know who Roosh is?
Yes.
Okay, Roosh. So I don't like Roosh. And the reason I don't like Roosh is this. He spent his whole life chasing around the world. He never worked on himself or became a high-value guy. He spent X amount of years chasing women and wrote books like he knows what he's talking about. He's now lonely and old. If he got sick, he'd lay in bed on his own without a nurse, without a wife, without children. He's even failed at women. He has no wife. He has nothing of genuine substance. And that's because he's not a man of genuine substance. So even if he managed to say the right things and sleep with a girl, as soon as she realized he was vapious, she disappeared. So you can't hack having a personality. You can't trick a girl into thinking you're something you're not. If you want a woman to really respect you, then be a man worthy of respect. It's really that simple. My point is that if you end up like Roosh, where it's your only sole focus in life, you're going to end up a loser because he's never dedicated himself to anything else.
Yeah.
What has Roosh succeeded at? He's failed financially. He's failed from a family perspective. He's failed even with women. He doesn't even have a woman at the end of it.
I'm giving the best advice I possibly know to men, because I'm telling you, if you're a man out here who's not going to mess around with girls, not get any experience with women, not get experience with how they work, find one girl and instantly fall in love with her, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get f***ing wrecked. You are. The man who just meets a chick, has no experience with girls, isn't really good at getting new ones, they're the ones who end up sitting lonely at 42 divorced by themselves. Every single one of them. The only chance you have as a man now is being versed enough in the game and having enough experience with women to not get played. These women are sharks, G. You gotta be careful. I'm saying these things.
Oh, he's right.
You can't be a man with no experience out here and just meeting your first chick and falling in love. Because 99% of the time, it's gonna go wrong for the man. When men come along and ask for relationship advice to me, I'm like, if you want to be good at something, you need experience. BJJ, driving, keeping a woman happy. I can keep a woman happier than anyone because I've had a bunch of women. If I didn't have a bunch of women, I don't think I'd keep a woman happy the same. I really don't believe that. If you're going to be a man and say, for the sake of love, I want to forego all of my own experiences and be less competent in the battlefield, that's fine. But I'm telling you that you're putting yourself at risk. I think the best chance a man has now in the Western world is to date, have a bunch of girls, date a bunch of girls, meet a bunch of girls, find the best one he can, and then perhaps settle down. But to sit and say, oh, I've met one now, I'm going to stop the game, you're going to get in trouble. I'm saying that it's a very dangerous battlefield now. When you were saying I feel sorry for the young people, so do I. It's hard now. Imagine being 15 with social medias and these kind of things. It's nuts. Imagine being a 19-year-old boy now. Every 19-year-old girl you're in love with is on Instagram dating 40-year-old billionaires. It's crazy. And I'm saying that a lot of the men who are the most heartbroken, who are most upset, people underestimate how important the relationship between a man and a woman is in the masculine life. I can tell you right now, you can give a man everything, but if he's arguing with his chick, his head's it doesn't matter. It's so important. And I'm saying the best chance you have to negate these things is experience with women. You need a degree of experience as a man. Women innately want it. You see a woman who's unhappy with her boyfriend because he's simping or he's acting stupid or he always just chases me around. Women will tell you themselves, he's boring, It's true. You need to get to the point where you have enough abundance and you've been about the game long enough that you can say, that's a shit test, she's playing games, goodbye. You have to. And I'm saying the only way you can do that is with experience and abundance. So as a man, you need to do your thing, get to a point where you meet the one and settle down. But to sit and say that period where you do your thing isn't necessary, I completely disagree with that. I think you're going to end up wrecked if you don't do it. In the modern world, with Instagram, with everyone after his chick, when he's Joe Schmo and I'm messaging her, it's over. And I'm saying the best advice you can give the guy is when he gets his heart broken and he's truly destroyed is you need to become a man that women don't leave. So you got to get in the gym, and you got to get more important, and you got to get more women, and you just got to become that guy. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
You can have anything you want. Universe is super giving. You want a Ferrari, you can have it. You want that bitch, you can have her. You can have anything you want on the planet. There's not a girl I look at that I want that I can't have. Not one. That's my reality. There's not a car I can't have. There's not a house I can't buy. If I want to go to a yacht, if I want to go to Antarctica, there's nothing I can't have. Bam. Because I've decided to become this man. It's the same for absolutely every single one of you at home. If you want it, you can have it. If you're sitting there saying, oh, but I tried my best and I still didn't get it, you're lying. You didn't try your best. That is a lie.
The universe gives it to everybody who genuinely tries. And I know that to be a fact because this world's competitive. We're all competing against each other. And the majority of people don't try. The thing about the world is we need losers. I'm not mad at losers. If that's the reality you've chosen to live, you get one spin in this version of life and you decide you want to be a loser, that's fantastic because my cars need cleaning, you know, my hotel room needs cleaning. I have a party with all these beautiful women that's a bit of a mess. Please, go pick it up. Somebody needs to do that shit. I ain't gonna do it. If I had to walk into a hotel room and clean up after some other man's party, I guarantee you I'd do whatever it took to become rich so I didn't have to do that shit anymore. But you want to do that for 20 years? Thanks, friend. Someone's got to flip the burgers. Someone has to make the fries. I want a Happy Meal now and again. But I don't feel sorry for you people because you deserve it because it's the decision you made. You made that decision. If you're sitting at home and you say, I don't want to be a loser, you know what to do. I told you how to escape the matrix.
It's actually very interesting, the masculine experience, because I like to believe that most men on the planet have lived a semi-similar timeline. Even me, Lord of Earth, Top G, the most interesting, compendious, smart, funny, tall, strong, and brilliant human to possibly ever live, has been through a very similar timeline to a worm like you. And it's quite an interesting thing. Yes, you are a worm. Be quiet. Listen. You're a worm! Shut up! It's very interesting that all of us as men experience a very similar human paradigm. And that is that most men are born and you're not important. And then you go to school and you fall in love with some girl in school and she someone else. And then you realize that all the 19-year-olds you want when you're 19 are with older dudes because they have cars or whatever. And you go through this experience of getting your heart broken and losing your girlfriend, et cetera. And many men latch on to some average bitch or accept they're going to have their heart broken forever. But some men decide to become so big and important and strong and irreplaceable that they never have to suffer heartbreak again. Because every man deals with heartbreak and deals with sadness. But how you use that energy is the differentiator between humans, right? You are feeling the same pain that many men have felt. I, as a man, every man out there has had his heart broken and understands how difficult it is as a man. We all know how hard it is to see the girl you love getting plowed. Yeah, to getting plowed by someone else like you have to deal with now. You can log into our OnlyFans and see it. But wow. It's true. It's boy, girl. That's why she started the account. But the difference between me and you and perhaps some of the other men out there is that certain men take that anguish and take that sadness and understand that energy could not be destroyed. It can only be converted and use it to build themselves into a man of absolute standing and power, as opposed to sitting around off like you just told me you do. You are a waste. You are wasting your energy. Heartbreak is unlimited motivation. If I was heartbroken, it's been a very long time, but if I was heartbroken, I'd be in the gym every morning. I'd be a beast. I'd be running. I'd be working. I couldn't sleep. I'd be an absolute animal. And you're heartbroken. And what are you doing? Cut off like a dumbass. You're right. Of course I'm right. So I understand very, very well heartbreak. Every man does. This is what's so amazing about the masculine experience. Even the Top G and a worm have lived a very similar-ish timeline. The difference is, as a man, you must build yourself into a man of credibility, which means to build yourself into a man of standing, we all start in a fairly similar position. I became me through tedious, arduous, difficult, never-ending work. You are wasting your time. And by the time you finally realize I'm right, you're going to be too old for anyone to give a shit. Because at your age, how old are you again? 20-something?
22.
22. At 22, I could split the earth's core. You should be so strong. You know why God made your girl leave you? Because he wanted to show you that you ain't shit. He wanted to show you that you are human and you're fallible and that you're very replaceable. So he decided to make you fall in love with a girl, and he decided to make her leave you to show you that you are a dead. Now it is your job to look at the board, understand what's happened, say, I understand, God, I deserve that. I'm glad she left me and I'm sad because I am a dead, and do something about it. Because if you refuse, if you ignore God's message, next time you fall in love with a bitch, guess what he's going to do?
What?
He's going to make her leave you to remind you once again that you are a dead. Every single man out here, if you're upset that your girl's leaving you, God is reminding you that you aren't worth shit. You need to get up and work so hard that even in the eyes of God, he is proud of you. God loves his creations, which show him their true potential and beauty. By getting up and trying your absolute best and becoming a man of moral standing, He will reward you and bless you endlessly. If you continue to be a dickhead, God will remind you you're a dickhead. So God just broke your heart on purpose to show you that the way you're living your life and the man you are simply are not good enough. What have you changed since? Nothing. Nothing. You think God's going to forgive you for no reason? You think God's going to go, oh, that little Aiden, it's fine. He hasn't learned his lesson. He hasn't changed. He isn't even trying very hard. He's not up early in the gym. He ain't doing nothing. It's fine. Let's just let him fall in love and let's make sure the girl doesn't f someone else on OnlyFans this time. No, sir. This is going to repeat endlessly. It's a cycle that will not change until you take the message from God and become the man you're supposed to be. You must stop being a Aiden.
Okay.
You deserve this. You deserve what's happened to you. You deserve how you feel. All of it.
And I've heard some stupid advice from a bunch of other people. I don't want to say names. I had some guy with a blue check mark message me on Twitter and he's like, look, I'm trying to find a girl who understands to behave right. And I'm trying to find a girl who's done the self work and is introspective and has been to therapy and understands. I was like, bro, I don't know what planet you're on. You can't even get a girl who's hot. Let alone a girl who's hot and been to therapy and is going to listen to a dork like you. Yeah. That's the reason girls aren't listening to you is because you're a nerd, right? That's the reality of it. If you want a good relationship, you're going to have to build a good relationship. And females aren't stupid. You know, for you to be authoritarian, for them to look it up to you with authority, you have to show some competence. They're not going to completely bend over and comply with you just because you have it. And that's what this tragcon crap is. This idea that, well, I'm a man, she's a woman, so she obeys me no matter what. Most of you men aren't men. Yeah. And that's why she doesn't listen to you. Cause I'm telling you, if you meet a woman who's half good and you're the big G, she'll behave.
The truth is, as a man, a woman doesn't even have to like you. She doesn't even have to love you, but if she respects you, she's always going to be around. And this is why if I love a woman with all my heart and she goes, I want to leave, the first thing I'm going to say is, pack. Because if I say anything else, she's not going to respect me. Like if oh, please stay. I'll say, look, I don't want you to leave. I would like you to stay, but if you're going to talk shit and threaten me, you get the fuck out of my house. Like I've had women leave me, but I've never had a woman not respect me. And that's why I can hit up any ex I've ever had. And I know they'll reply because they respect me on a base level. So why do they respect me? Because I respect myself. So I will never sacrifice my self-respect. I guess that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter if I love you. My self-respect has to come first. And that's good for me and it's good for you. Because if I sacrifice my self-respect, you wouldn't love me anymore either, bitch. So that's just how it's going to be. That's just how I view the self, because that's how I view the world. That's how I always am. You know, you have to a degree, put yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to be like all about you. No one else is going to fix your life. I really don't believe no one else is going to make your life fantastic but you. You have to be all about you. And so many of these guys who get hurt, because I really believe guys get hurt more than women nowadays. This idea that men hurt women and break women's hearts. Okay, maybe I've broken a few. But besides the elite players like me, most of the time it's the women the guys over. I really believe that. And a lot of the times they're getting screwed up is because they've tied their identity so intricately with this girl that they've lost their sense of self. You lose your sense of self, you can't have self-respect. And that's why she doesn't respect you anyway. And that's why it's all going downhill. And that's why you lose her and you panic and blah, blah, blah. You've got to be about yourself first. She has to be a compliment. So yeah, I've had my heart broken in regards to, I've had times women have left and I've really, really missed her, but I have never texted her first, ever.
What did you do with the pain of the heartbreak?
I did the same thing I do if my heart wasn't broken. I got up. I went in the gym. I lifted a bunch of weights. I got in my fast car. I drove down the road looking sexy as bought a Starbucks and made some money. It doesn't matter. How I feel has no bearing on how I live my life.
That as a man, we're born with absolutely zero value. We can build ourselves into what we want to be. I get people messaging me all the time like, hey, Tate, you have this money. When I was young, I wanted to be the big, strong fighter with money. I'm exactly what I wanted to be. I decided I wanted to be James Bond. And I got as close as I possibly could. You get to build your own character. If you want to be a rapper, you get to go be a rapper. If you want to be a gunslinging cowboy building steel buildings, you get to be Waller. You can do anything you want to be. I'm exactly what I always wanted to be. I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be big. I wanted to be semi-intimidating to a degree. I wanted to be connected. I wanted to be like a mob boss from a video game. I made all of that come true. As a man, you can decide exactly what you want to be. So if you're a dork, guess what you decided to be? You decided to be a nerd. And then you're going to sit there as a dork and say, why are the big G's got all the That was your decision, my friend. You have to fill up those buckets that Justin Waller's talking about. You have to go fill them up. And women, we're talking about respect. Women aren't going to respect men who don't respect themselves. You're not going to sit there without working hard and say, well, I'm a man, so you have to listen. That's fantasy tradcon bullshit. That's not real. You have to be about it, right? So get out there and do it.